The morning sun rested gently on the small town of Orua, painting golden lines across the rooftops. Birds chirped on mango trees, neighbors swept their compounds, and children ran with laughter ringing in the air. It was supposed to be a beautiful day. And for most people it was. But for Eudora, the bride-to-be, it felt like the heaviest day of her life. She sat before the mirror in her mother's room, dressed in a flawless white gown imported from abroad by her wealthy groom's family. Her makeup artists fluttered around her, adjusting, powdering, smoothing, but Eudora barely noticed any of it. Her eyes were empty, her heart even emptier. "You should try to smile," her aunt whispered. "A bride must shine on her big day." Eudora forced a small smile, but inside her soul trembled. She was marrying Chief Obadiah, a wealthy man old enough to be her father. A man her parents said would secure her future. A man who offered her family money they desperately needed after her father lost his job. It wasn't love, not even close, but it was duty, the kind expected of a good daughter. Her mother entered the room with red-rimmed eyes, though she tried to hide it behind a practiced smile. "It will be fine, my child," she said softly, touching Eudora's cheek. But Eudora's heart whispered otherwise. Outside music blared. Guests filled the compound. The air carried scents of jollof rice, fried chicken, and fresh flowers. Praise singers called out blessings. "Where is the bride?" someone shouted from outside. Eudora's chest tightened. Her throat closed. Her hands trembled. She tried to breathe, slowly, deeply, quietly, but the gown felt like a cage. Every inhale was a struggle. Every exhale was a plea. Her mother stepped out briefly as the hairstylist adjusted her veil. And then, the door swung open. Her younger brother, Chima, slipped inside and whispered urgently, "Ada, you don't look happy." She swallowed hard. "I'm not," she whispered back. "I can't breathe, Chima. I can't do this." He froze, eyes wide. "What do you mean? People are waiting." "I don't want this marriage," she said, tears threatening to fall. "I never did." Chima stared at her with a mixture of fear and compassion. Then he said something no one else had dared to say. "Then run." Eudora blinked. "What?" "If you stay, you will suffer," he murmured. "If you go, at least the life you choose will be yours." Those words landed on her heart like a spark hitting dry wood. Her pulse surged. Her thoughts became clear. Her breath returned. In a single moment, everything inside her shifted. She didn't want to be a bride today. She wanted to be free. Footsteps approached, her mother returning. Chima panicked. "Make your choice now." Then he slipped out through the back door. Eudora stood. Her legs wobbled. Her body shook. She looked at herself in the mirror. Really looked. A young woman imprisoned by expectations. A heart screaming for escape. A soul begging for a life chosen by love, not forced by circumstance. And then, with trembling hands, she lifted the heavy gown slightly and whispered to herself, "Run." She pulled off the veil, grabbed her small handbag from under the bed, and slipped out through the same back door her brother used. The music outside grew louder. Just danced. Chief Obadiah waited with pride. Priests prepared the altar. No one knew the bride was gone. Eudora walked faster. Then faster. Until she broke into a full run, barefoot, her gown trailing through dust and grass. People looked at her with shock as she sprinted past them. But she didn't stop. For the first time in her life, Eudora was choosing herself. And it was only the beginning of her journey. A journey that would lead her to danger, unexpected love, betrayal, and a truth that would shake the very foundations of everything she believed. Eudora ran. Not like a bride fleeing her wedding. Not like a disgraced daughter trying to hide. She ran like a woman fighting for her life. Her white gown swept across bushes as she stumbled through narrow footpaths behind the compound. Sweat soaked her forehead. Her heartbeat drummed like thunder in her ears. All she knew was one thing. She could not go back. The town loudspeakers boomed with wedding announcements. "Ladies and gentlemen, the bride will soon be brought out." Deora flinched. If only they knew. A group of children playing nearby stared at her in confusion. Auntie Bride! Auntie Bride! Why are you running? One boy shouted, chasing playfully. Deora forced a small smile and waved them away before disappearing behind a cluster of abandoned market stalls. She leaned on a wooden pole, trying to catch her breath. Her gown was torn at the hem. Her feet were dusty and bruised. Her mind raced with fear. What will Mama say when they notice I'm gone? What will Chief Obadiah do? Where will I go? How will I survive? Her hands trembled uncontrollably. She wanted to cry, scream, collapse, but she didn't have that luxury. Not yet. Suddenly she heard footsteps. Fast, loud, getting closer. Her heart froze. Deora! A voice shouted. Not one voice. Multiple voices. The search party. She ducked behind an overturned stall, held her breath, and pressed her palm against her mouth to silence her panic. Men ran past, calling her name with anxious urgency. Deora! Where are you? The bride has escaped. Oh! Chief Obadiah must hear this. Her blood ran cold. One of the men stopped close to where she hid. If Chief Obadiah finds out we lost her, all of us are finished, he muttered nervously. Another replied, search everywhere. She can't have gone far in that heavy gown. Deora squeezed her eyes shut, praying silently. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the men ran off in another direction. Deora exhaled shakily and crawled out from hiding. I need to get out of this town, she whispered. Then she remembered. Her childhood friend Uche, who lived in the next village, about a 2-hour walk away. But in her gown. Almost impossible. Still she had no choice. She gathered the gown into her hands and started walking through bushes to avoid the main road. Halfway through the path, her legs began to ache. Her throat felt dry. Her stomach clenched from hunger. But she pushed on. As she walked, memories flooded her mind. Her father sitting her down saying, this marriage will save our family. Her mother crying silently the night the engagement was announced. Chief Obadiah smiling at her like she was a property he had purchased. Her siblings watching helplessly. The weight of it all nearly broke her again. Suddenly, a motorcycle engine sounded behind her. She froze. The road ahead was empty, but the bushes parted as a motorcyclist approached from behind. He slowed down, then stopped. Deora's breath caught. It was Amaka, the village troublemaker, known for gossip, drinking and causing scenes at the marketplace. The last person she wanted to see. He removed his helmet slowly. Deora? He asked, blinking in disbelief. She swallowed hard. Please don't shout. Don't tell anyone you saw me. Amaka stared at her gown, the dirt, the panic in her eyes. So the rumor is true, he said. You ran away from the wedding. Deora's lips trembled. Please. His expression softened unexpectedly. I always knew you weren't happy with that arrangement, he murmured. Climb on the bike. Quickly. Deora hesitated, frightened. Why are you helping me? Amaka shrugged. Because every human deserves freedom. She climbed on without another word. He started the engine, and they sped off through a hidden path behind the farmlands. Wind rushed against her face. The gown fluttered wildly. Her heart raced with fear and hope at the same time. After 20 minutes, Amaka stopped near the edge of the next village. This is as far as I can go. They know my bike. If they see me too close, it will bring suspicion. Deora nodded gratefully. Thank you, truly. He looked at her with surprising sincerity. Don't let them catch you, Deora. If they do, Chief Obadiah will never forgive it. A shiver ran through her body. She walked until she reached a small stream surrounded by tall trees. Finally, no one in sight. For the first time since the escape, Deora sat down on a rock, dipped her feet into the cool water, and burst into tears. Tears of fear. Tears of exhaustion. Tears of freedom. Her life as she knew it was over. The world ahead was uncertain. But she whispered the same words she had whispered when she first ran. I choose myself. She wiped her tears and stood up. Ahead of her was a long road. A dangerous road. A road filled with people who would help her. And people who would betray her. But she had taken the first step. And destiny had begun to unfold. Eduora walked for almost an hour, unsure of where she was or where she was going. Her wedding gown dragged across the dust, soaked at the bottom from walking through the stream. Her veil hung loosely on one side, and her hair clung to her sweaty forehead. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky a deep orange. Birds were returning to their nests. Farmers were going home. The world felt calm. But Eduora felt none of that calm. Her mind was a storm. She kept replaying everything. Her mother's worried face. Her father's stern voice. Chief Obadiah's hungry stare. The whispers of the villagers. And her own pounding footsteps as she ran from the wedding she never wanted. She was walking along a narrow dirt path when she suddenly staggered. Fatigue hit her like a blow. Her legs wobbled. Her throat felt painfully dry. Her chest tightened. She hadn't eaten since morning. She hadn't drunk water since noon. She hadn't rested since she fled. Finally, she collapsed on her knees beside a large mango tree, panting heavily. God, please help me, she whispered. Her vision blurred. A step. Slow, steady, approaching. Eduora's senses sharpened immediately. Was it the search party? Had Chief Obadiah's men found her? She pushed herself to her feet, ready to run again. But she turned and saw a man she didn't recognize. Well-built but with gentle eyes. He wore simple clothes, faded jeans and a brown shirt, and carried a small bag on his shoulder. He paused when he saw her. Oh, he said softly. I didn't mean to scare you. Eduora stayed silent, still ready to run. I'm not from your village, the man added quickly. I'm just passing through. He noticed her gown, the dirt, the tears, the fear. Then his eyes softened even more. You look like you need water. Her throat burned at the word water. The man reached into his bag and pulled out a sealed bottle, unopened. He placed it on the ground and stepped back. Don't be afraid. If you're worried about safety, I won't come any closer. Eduora hesitated. Then she slowly picked up the bottle, opened it, and drank like her life depended on it. Cool water ran down her throat. Relief washed over her body. Thank you, she whispered. The man nodded. I'm Chima, he said gently. I'm a traveler. Was visiting my uncle in the next town. Eduora swallowed nervously. She didn't want to give her name. Not to a stranger. But Chima seemed to sense her caution. You don't have to tell me anything, he said. You look like someone running from trouble. I've seen that look before. Her heartbeat quickened. Are people looking for you? He asked quietly. Eduora looked down. Then she nodded just once. Chima didn't press her further. He simply sat a few feet away, giving her space. Sometimes, he said, running is how we survive. Eduora felt her throat tighten again, not from thirst this time but from emotion. No one had spoken to her with such gentleness all day. After a moment, Chima reached into his bag again and pulled out a small pack of bread. You should eat. Eduora wanted to refuse, but her stomach growled loudly, exposing her hunger. Chima chuckled softly. No shame in being human. She took the bread. She ate slowly at first, then faster as hunger took over. When she finished, she took a deep breath. Thank you, Chima. He nodded again. I have a small hut I rented by the farms. I'm staying the night before I travel at dawn. Eduora tensed immediately. Chima raised both hands. Not what you think, he said quickly. You've obviously been through something serious. And you can't sleep outside alone in a wedding gown. It's not safe. His voice carried no pressure, no force, just sincerity. There's a spare mat. You can lock the door from inside. I won't bother you. Eduora stared at him, trying to read his eyes. He didn't look threatening. He didn't look manipulative. He looked genuinely concerned. Still hesitant, she asked. Why help me? Chima shrugged lightly. Everyone deserves a place to rest, he said. And you look like someone who hasn't been treated with kindness today. Adeora's chest tightened. No one had been kind to her today. Not even her own family. After a long silence, she whispered, Okay. Chima stood up and walked ahead, leaving a respectful distance. Adeora followed slowly, still cautious but desperate for rest. They walked for almost 15 minutes until they reached a small wooden hut near a cluster of palm trees. Chima stepped aside. You can go in, he said. I'll stay outside for a moment so you feel safe. Adeora stepped into the hut cautiously. It was small but tidy. A mat on the floor. A wooden bench. Lantern. A jug of water. For the first time in hours, she felt a hint of safety. Chima remained outside until she called out softly. You can come in now. He entered, placed his bag down, and sat far on the bench. You can sleep, he said. I'll stay awake for a while. Adeora sat on the mat. Her body felt heavy. Her eyelids drooped. But before she drifted off, she whispered, Chima, thank you. Truly. He smiled gently. You're safe here. Adeora closed her eyes. Sleep slowly pulled her in. Then she noticed Chima staring out the window, eyes sharp, shoulders tense, as if he was expecting something or someone. And in that moment, Adeora wondered, who exactly was Chima? And why did he seem like a man hiding secrets of his own? Adeora drifted into a deep sleep, her body finally surrendering after the day's chaos. The soft chirping of crickets and the faint rustle of palm leaves outside the hut created a strange sense of peace around her. But outside, Chima wasn't peaceful at all. He sat by the window, eyes sharp, mind racing. He wasn't just passing through like he had told Adeora. He wasn't just a traveler. And he knew the moment he saw her collapsing under the mango tree, that this night wouldn't be simple. As the moon climbed higher, a distant sound broke the calm. A step. Not heavy enough to be soldiers. Not light enough to be farmers. Silent, careful, searching. Chima tensed instantly. Adeora stirred in her sleep as if sensing something wrong. Chima stepped closer to the door, listening. His entire posture shifted. Shoulders squared, muscles tightened, breath steady. This wasn't the posture of a harmless wanderer. This was the posture of a trained man. The footsteps drew closer, crunching dry leaves softly. A faint beam of light flashed between the trees. Chima cursed under his breath. They had found her. A shadow approached the hut. Chima turned toward Adeora. She was half awake now, blinking in confusion. Chima, what's happening? He pressed a finger to his lips. Stay quiet, he whispered. Don't move. Adeora's heartbeat thundered in her chest. Was it Chief Obadiah's men? Her father? Villagers? Strangers? The wind carried the sound of a voice just outside. She must be nearby. The chief said she couldn't have gone far. Adeora froze. It was Chief Obadiah's men. Tears filled her eyes. How did they find her so fast? Why couldn't they just leave her alone? Chima stepped toward the door as if ready to fight, but Adeora grabbed his arm. No, please, if they find me here they'll hurt you too. Chima shook his head. You're under my roof. I won't let anything happen to you. Adeora stared at him. This man, this stranger, was willing to risk everything for her. But before she could respond, a loud knock thundered against the wooden door. Open this door, a man barked outside. We are looking for a runaway bride. Adeora gasped and covered her mouth. Chima stood still, calm, too calm. Another bang shook the hut. Last warning. Open this door or we force it open. Adeora crawled backward, trembling. Chima finally spoke. His voice low, controlled. You're not opening anything, he said softly to her. They won't enter. Adeora swallowed hard. How do you know? Chima didn't answer. He simply walked toward the lantern on the bench, blew it out, and the room fell into darkness. Adeora's breath hitched. The men outside began murmuring. Why did the light go off? Someone is inside. Break the door. Chima leaned close to Adeora and whispered. When the door breaks, stay behind me. No matter what. The door cracked once. With a violent kick. It burst open. Moonlight flooded the hut, and 3 men stepped inside. Their eyes widened when they saw Chima. His posture was steady, his expression unreadable. Where's the girl? One of them demanded. Chima didn't move. She's not going anywhere with you. The men scoffed. Who are you to interfere? Chima didn't answer. One of the men stepped forward to shove him aside. Chima grabbed his wrist midair. Twisted. The man screamed. Adeora covered her mouth. Chima pushed the attacker back with controlled force, strong enough to send him stumbling, but not enough to cause serious harm. Another man charged at him. Chima stepped aside, swift like someone who had been trained for years. He didn't hit them. He didn't fight back aggressively. He only blocked, redirected, defended. The men were shocked. Let's go, one of them gasped. This one, he's not normal. They pulled their injured companion and fled into the night. Their footsteps faded fast. Silence returned. Chima's shoulders finally relaxed. Adeora stared at him in awe and fear. Chima, she whispered, voice shaking. Who are you? Chima didn't speak for a long moment. He simply closed the door gently, leaned against it, and let out a slow breath. Then he finally turned to her. My real name is Chima Obizu, he began quietly. I used to work in security operations for a private organization. High-risk missions. Dangerous environments. Adeora blinked in shock. You're a trained officer. Chima nodded. I left the work months ago. Too much danger. Too many secrets. I wanted a quiet life. Adeora's eyes filled with emotion. Why help me then? Why risk your life for someone you barely know? Chima stepped closer, but still kept a respectful distance. Because I saw someone who deserved freedom, he said softly. And because you reminded me of someone I couldn't save in the past. Adeora's breath caught. A heavy unspoken sorrow lingered in Chima's eyes. She suddenly realized he wasn't just kind. He was broken too, running from his own past. The hut fell into deep silence. Adeora whispered, What do I do now? They will come back. Chima nodded. That's why at dawn we leave this place. Together. I'll get you somewhere safe. Adeora felt a wave of relief. And confusion. A stranger was now her protector. A man with secrets was now her only safety. And as she looked at him, really looked, she noticed something she hadn't seen before. An unspoken connection. Not romance. Not yet. But trust. A fragile trust growing between 2 wounded souls. And neither of them knew that dawn would bring more danger. And more truth. Than either of them was ready for. Morning came with a soft golden glow spreading through the trees. Adeora was already awake. Her eyes swollen from a restless night. She kept replaying everything in her mind. Men. The attack. Chima's hidden skills. His confession. And the way he had said, together. Outside, Chima was already preparing supplies. Cloth bag. Water in a calabash. Dried palm kernel. A wrapped parcel she didn't recognize. Adeora stepped out of the hut. The morning air was crisp, almost too calm for the storm she felt rising in her chest. Is it time? She asked softly. Chima nodded. We'll move quickly. They won't give up searching. He didn't say the rest, but Adeora knew it. Chief Abedike was dangerous, powerful, and humiliated. A runaway bride was one thing. But a runaway bride protected by another man. That was unforgivable. Chima tightened the strap of the bag on his shoulder. We will follow the bush path to the river, he explained. From there, I know a man who can take us to a safe town. Eudora looked up at him. You've thought everything through. He met her eyes briefly. I've had practice. They began walking through the forest path, leaves crunching softly under their feet. Monkey calls echoed in the distance. The scent of wet earth filled the air. But Eudora felt a tension in the wind. A warning. After nearly an hour of silence, she finally spoke. Chima, what happened to the person you said you couldn't save? Chima didn't respond immediately. He slowed his steps. Then he said quietly, she was someone I cared for. Too much. I tried to protect her from something very dangerous. But I failed. And I've lived with that guilt ever since. Eudora felt her chest tighten. I'm sorry, she whispered. You don't have to be, Chima murmured. Just don't think I'm heroic. I'm only trying not to fail again. Eudora wanted to reach out to him, but before she could, a rustling sound tore through the bushes. Quick, loud, and coming straight toward them. Chima's hand instantly grabbed Eudora's wrist. Move! They ducked behind a thick iroko tree. More rustling. The step. Whispers. Eudora's heart hammered. Chima leaned slightly, eyes sharp. It's them, he whispered. Abidike's men. They're sweeping the forest. Eudora felt panic rise in her throat. How did they find us so fast? Chima's voice hardened. Someone is tracking you. Watching the roads. Reporting your movements. Who would do that? Eudora whispered. But deep down, a cold realization bloomed inside her. Her stepmother, Madame Ebel. She had never liked Eudora. She had everything to gain from Eudora disappearing. More footsteps closed in. Chima whispered. When I say run, run. But, run, Eudora. Suddenly, a figure burst from the bushes. Not an enemy. Little boy. Barefoot. Breathless. Uncle Chima. Uncle Chima, he cried. Eudora blinked in confusion. Chima's eyes widened. Chiquado, what are you doing here? The boy looked terrified. Soldiers entered the village. They're looking everywhere for you. Chima froze. Eudora turned sharply to him. They're looking for you. Chima clenched his jaw. He looked away. Eudora felt her stomach sink. Chima, why are they looking for you? Before he could answer, a voice boomed through the forest. We found them. Over here. Chima pulled Eudora behind him. 7 men stepped into the clearing. And leading them, not a soldier, not a guard, but Madame Ebel, Eudora's stepmother. Her wrapper was neatly tied. Her headscarf perfect. Her smile cold as ice. My dear Eudora, she said sweetly. You've caused a lot of trouble. Eudora could barely breathe. Stepmother. You betrayed me. Madame Ebel clicked her tongue. A daughter who embarrasses her family must be corrected. And I cannot watch you throw away the chance to marry the most powerful man in the region. Eudora trembled with anger. You want to force me into a marriage with a man old enough to be my father. He is wealthy, Madame Ebel snapped. And generous. You should be grateful. Chima stepped forward. You're not taking her. Madame Ebel smirked at him. And you, young man, don't think I don't know who you are. She turned to her men. Arrest him. Eudora shouted. No. But the men rushed forward. Chima fought back, but there were too many. They forced him to the ground. Eudora screamed his name, tears streaming down her face as she tried to reach him. 2 guards held her back. Madame Ebel walked closer, eyes narrowed. You want to know why he was really running, she said. You want to know the truth about your hero. Eudora looked at Chima, breath shaking. Don't listen, Chima said through clenched teeth. Madame Ebel smiled wickedly. He is wanted in 3 neighboring towns. The people who hired him say he deserted an assignment. They say he betrayed them during an operation. They have been searching for him for months. Eudora felt her heart stop. Chima, is this true? His eyes met hers, filled with guilt. Yes. Adeora's knees buckled. Everything spun. The man who saved her, the man she trusted, the man she felt connected to, was a fugitive. Chima's voice trembled, the first time she had ever heard fear in him. Adeora, I didn't betray anyone. I left because the organization was doing terrible things. I refused to be part of it. They want to silence me. Madame Ebel scoffed. A lovely story. Too bad he won't get to finish it. She raised her hand dramatically. Take Adeora back to the chief. And take this man away. Adeora struggled desperately. No. Don't take him. Don't touch him. But the guards dragged Chima up. Adeora reached out helplessly as he was pulled away. Chima looked back. Eyes filled with something that tore Adeora's heart apart. Regret, fear, and something else. Something unspoken. Adeora, he shouted. Listen to me. You deserve freedom. Don't let them take it from you. A guard struck him. Dora screamed. Kimaea. The forest swallowed her voice. And just when it seemed everything was lost, a horn sounded. Loud blows. Everyone froze. From the bushes emerged Chief Obadiah's first wife, Madame Nena, and behind her, villagers, women, elders, all holding lanterns and sticks. Madame Nena stepped forward with authority. You will not take that girl back to the chief, she announced firmly. Madame Ebel gasped. Why are you interfering? Madame Nena raised her chin proudly. Because the girl ran away for a reason. My husband has no right to force marriage on a child. And you, she pointed at Madame Ebel, have no right to decide her fate. The villagers murmured in agreement. Let the girl speak, one shouted. Leave her alone, another added. Madame Ebel's eyes widened in rage. You fools! Do you know who you're challenging? Madame Nena stepped directly in front of Adeora and placed a protective hand on her shoulder. You want the truth, she said loudly. Chief Obadiah's greed has gone too far, and we will not support it. The guards hesitated. Madame Ebel sputtered. Chief Obadiah will hear of this. You people are finished. But Chima, still held by two guards, looked at Adeora with trembling eyes. And Adeora, something awakened in her. Something fierce. Something fearless. Something free. She stepped forward and shouted. I am not going back. And anyone who tries to force me will answer for it. The villagers erupted in support. Chima stared at her in awe. Madame Ebel shrieked orders, but the guards refused to move. Madame Nena announced. We are returning to the village to confront the chief. He will not rule through fear anymore. She turned to Adeora. You will walk beside me. Adeora nodded, tears falling but her back straight. Then she turned to Chima. Release him, she said. Madame Nena nodded. The guards obeyed. Chima stumbled forward. Adeora caught him. He whispered, I'm sorry. Adeora shook her head. We will talk later. Right now, we walk together. And they did. Side by side. Through the forest. Toward a future neither of them expected. A future where truth would be revealed. Where a corrupt chief would be confronted. Where a runaway bride would find her voice. Where a hunted man would clear his name. The beginning of a new story. Their story.